Hi, hello everyone. Welcome to our this week's CHIWORK conversation series. Today we're having a conversation with Dakuo Wang on human AI collaboration for the future of work. If possible, please turn on your camera. We'd love to see everyone. And I would also like to thank the other technical program chairs, as well as our student volunteers, Alberta, Isabel, and Nabil, who are in this room. And we also thank NSF for partially funding this event. And logistics, the first half an hour of this event will be recorded, and I will have a conversation with Dakuo on human AI collaboration for the future of work. And we very much look forward to questions from the audience. So please type your questions in the chat, and we will monitor the chat for questions from the audience. And please also stay us for the second part. So for the second 30 minutes, we will continue with an informal conversation on the topic, and we will turn off the recording for the second half. So right now, I would like to first welcome Dakuo Wang. So Dakuo is a senior staff member at IBM Research, principal investigator at MIT IBM Watson AI Lab, and also an adjunct professor at Northeastern University. His research lies at the intersection of HCI, AI, and data science, with a focus on the exploration, development, and evaluation of human-centered AI systems. Dakuo is co-leading IBM Research's human-centered natural language processing strategy. In the past couple of years, he has led a team to conduct research for IBM's automation of AI and data science strategy. Outside his IBM work, Dakuo is also broadly interested in healthcare and educational AI systems. So thank you for joining us, Dakuo.
Hi, Toby. Thanks so much for inviting me. And hi, everyone. It's so nice to see you.
So on your website, you describe the overarching goal of your research as to democratize AI for every person and every organization so they can access their own AI and collaborate with those real-world AI systems. Can you just tell us a little bit more about your work in those areas, and why is democratizing the access to AI important for the future of work?
Sure. Yes, I think that's a great question. So in today, I think, given that the AI technology has been advanced so much in the past decade or so, we have this consensus that AI technology are good, are performing very well, and it could help us and change many aspects of our life and our work, but still we are not seeing that happening, right? So many of those highly promised technologies are not really working in many of these domains, such as the education domain, where we're looking into, and also the healthcare ones that we had some research in, right? So why is that, right? So why so many AI systems failed? I think that's one of the motivation questions I have. From our recent works in healthcare and in education, for example, that we look into how system designers and system developers build these AI-based systems. For example, in healthcare, we look into the AI CDSS system, how AI-based clinical decision support system, and then see how it has been deployed into the general clinics. So in this particular case, we looked into the rural clinics in China, interviewed 20 people from multiple clinics, and then we see why such a highly invested system with good algorithm performance and millions of dollars investment and 2,000 clinicians have it on their computer, right? But still, after a few weeks of interaction, they decided not to use it anymore, right? Why is that? And what can we learn from this case? And what can we, derive so that we can propose those further design guidance for other domains and other people? So one thing that we learned is that people feel intimidated with these so-called new AI systems being deployed into their world, right? Sometimes these AI systems are not really cooperative with their existing system or with their existing workflow, right? So how can we? It's not necessarily about this AI system algorithm accuracy. It's not necessarily about this AI systems design for expandable, trustworthy, all these kind of things, right? Because the system, if you look at it, it already has those good features. It follows the human-centered AI design, like human-centered AI interaction design guidelines. But still, because people don't feel that they have control, and people don't feel that these AI systems can help them in their workflow. So one potential solution to deal with this problem is democratizing AI. That's why I'm putting it on my website, and I know Toby and many others, Michael, for example, right, are driving this initiative. So democratizing AI is really talking about how we can. I think it's one potential solution to make AI systems work in the real world. It's the gist of that approach is that we instead we dictate, right? We as designers and researchers and engineers dictate how the system should be built and designed, but rather we build some framework or the fundamental technology there, and then we enable the end users to actually customize and build their own AI system and build their own interaction. In one use case is the IBM Auto AI project, where we design and build a no code and a system, so that the data scientists or particularly data science novice and domain experts who have the needs to explore their data, build a model, they can just upload their model, click one button to decide which particular column in the data set they're most interested in, and then leave the rest of the work to the AI algorithm. For example, in this case, it's IBM Auto AI. After that, the AI algorithm will run auto ML algorithms, select the best algorithm, select the best hyperparameter, select the best optimization metric, and then output the models in API endpoint or in a Jupyter Notebook kind of format. So from there, it connected with the data scientist's existing workflow. That is one of the use cases for democratizing AI. We have similar projects in the education case, right? Education domain, where we as designers and engineers, we build an AI-based system and then provide that system for parents and the teachers, so that they don't need to write a single line of code, but instead they using our system, they can jumpstart or customize a chatbot system, so that chatbot system can then interact with their kids and children and students for various storybook reading activities and assessments. I think I've been giving you a very long answer for this short question, but in general, I think democratizing AI, which is to give the power back to the end users who may not know how to write code, right, to build and customize their own AI-based applications for their own use case and their own workflow, and it could be one potential solution for this, why AI systems fail in the real world problem.
Yes, thank you for the great answer. And I think several themes in your answer really stood out to me. One is you said that one reason existing users do not have this really good collaborative relationship with existing AI systems is that they are intimidated by the AI system.
Right.
They don't have enough trust. They don't have the feel of agency when interacting with the system.
Yeah.
And you also mentioned that one way to address this problem is to enable users to be not merely the users, but also give them powers to design and to build the systems.
Yes.
And you mentioned several use cases, like you mentioned how you work with data scientists, you work with teachers and parents, and you work with doctors in rural Chinese communities.
Yeah.
So I wonder, like, from your perspective, like, what are the biggest challenges in enabling this like effort to democratize AI access, and how are those challenges different for different populations and different, especially the different domain of work? Because I would imagine, like, for example, data scientists, they are more technical, right? They have those technical expertise. But when you talk about, let's say, parents or children or teacher, they represent a much wider range of background and expertise.
Mm-hmm.
And when you talk about like rural physicians in rural developing communities, they have their own like specific constraints and limitations.
Right.
So I wonder what are those challenges, and how do those challenges how are those challenges different for different populations?
Yes. So I think that's a great question, and that's the common question that many HCI researchers are often facing, right? So we need to go into different domains and different user populations, and then study how they do their work, how live their life, and then from there we digest what are the system design guidance, right? I think certainly it's not easy, right? But the easiest way, for example, like for some research and engineers, that will start to build some stuff without listening to target user voice, but that's wrong. We often know that it will lead to a failure of that potential system, right? So fortunately, we already have a lot of best practices and existing research methodologies to conduct that, right? We have contextual inquiry, we have user-centered design, we have participatory design, right? We have all these kinds of techniques that, we as designers, HCI researchers, or we cannot live a second life as a clinician, right, or physician, but we can use these research methods to try our best and solicit those users' needs and their goal and their their challenges in their daily life, so that from there we can digest design guidelines, and then from there we can select what are the best tools, what are the best technology out there, and what are the best ways to design the interaction. So I think, as you said, it's definitely challenging, but it's the fun part of conducting user-centered research.
Yes, I love how you put user-centered research as the key solution to this problem, which I totally agree with you. I think we should all go back to all those user-centered research, user-centered design methods, and how we can apply them in this new context. But I wonder, like, if you can comment on, like, what are some unique challenges in applying those methods for AI systems and AI-based solutions compared with traditional systems?
Yes. Oh, that's another very good question, right? So AI system or this designing for this kind of AI-based technology, right? It has some unique challenges. One particular thing is that in comparison to the traditional system design, right? One particular thing is that our target users are very often familiar with mobile-based applications, web-based user interactions, experiences, right? So that they have some basic understanding or expectation to say what they can use, what they will see, and what how they will interact with it, right? But for AI-based technologies, when we want to design it, right, it's hard to coordinate or I'll say to set up a right level of expectation for the user. Right. Some users, they may expect that, oh, you're talking about the AI technology, right? So it should be smart. It should be, super intelligent. It should be having an avatar face or human-ish kind of interaction method, right? But it's not necessary, right? So for the data scientist case, for the clinician's case, right? So what we found from interacting with this user, what they really need, right, is not necessarily a avatar embodied kind of like a user interaction. It's not necessarily conversational like an interface. That's not what they need, right? And that's not what we should provide when we design this human AI interaction, right? What they really need is best way, or maybe most likely an implicit way that can incorporated into their existing workflow. If they are already using a web-based application to make their clinical decision, maybe that AI system should be embedded as a module, and the interaction and the representation of the AI prediction or should be very lightweight and not disruptive at all for their existing workflow. So I think that's something that sometimes people or our tech user have a higher expectation, right? And sometimes they it also could be the opposite, right? So we have seen users, right? So they have this default kind of like how to say the default kind of like a distrust feeling of AI-based technology. So whenever you mention, oh, we are designing AI for you, right? They will start saying, no, I don't need that, right? So my work, doesn't need an AI, or if you have an AI to be designed for my to support me, very likely, in near future, my work will be replaced by AI. That's not something I want. So I'd rather not start that effort at all, right? So we have seen that also in multiple engagement and scenario, especially when we start to work with domain experts. So the experts who got the training and the practice for multiple years, right? And their work or their value, right? How they differentiate their work from others are the domain knowledge in their mind, right? Once we start to build an AI system for them, right, we start to ask those domain experts to share some of their domain expertise, domain knowledge with our AI algorithm, with our AI system. You can also feel that tension. You can see that people start to, step back.
Yes, thanks for a great answer. And another thing that what you said reminded me of was, because one thing I realized about your work is a lot of your work looks into human AI collaboration for knowledge workers, like data scientists or physicians. And I was listening to a podcast the other day, and the podcast made a really good point. It basically says, if we look at the prediction of what the future of work would look like from 10 years ago, 20 years ago, we would predict that the revolution would start from the manual labor. We will look at, for example, the manufacturer workers, the service workers. We will look at their job are the first in the line to get displaced or revolutionized by the development of technology. But what we're actually seeing is that this kind of disruption actually starts from the top, starts from the knowledge worker. Part of the reason was, according to that podcast, was the development of robotics basically fall behind compared with the development of machine learning and AI models. So now we're seeing that the group that got affected or got, depending on how to see it, right, affected or empowered the most are physicians, data scientists with AutoML. Recently we're looking at artists who are really, like, some artists really feel threatened with things like DALL-E or stability diffusion. We're looking at like final writers who feel that, or copy editors think their job are being threatened by models like GPT-3. So I wonder, like, what's your take on this? Like, how do you envision the future of work for those like highly specialized knowledge workers, and where do you think the effort should head to if we want to enable them to collaborate effectively with those AI tools instead of being displaced or feel that they are being displaced by those AI models?
Right. Yes. So thank you so much. Yeah, I guess I'm not in full agreement with that position that from that podcast that you mentioned, right? So because I feel like based on what I'm reading, many of those manual workers like in manufacturers, right, and are being kind of like displaced and being replaced by those automation like assembly kind of like some lines, right, or robotic arms, or we have seen lots of those. And think about the Amazon's like warehouse, right? If they don't have those automatic robots to shift those shelves, right? So they would have to hire much more like people, right? So in human workers in those manufacturers. So indeed, we are observing those happening in those manual work scenarios, right? But so that's why I was saying I'm not in fully agreement with that podcast position, right? But to the second part of your question, right? Why we are having this feeling, right? I'm guessing maybe it's because like as you said, artists or the knowledge workers, we sometimes are being more like vocal, right? So we when we feel like this tension, this threat, we speak up. Right, so we have channels to speak up, right? And journalists and other like media listen to these knowledge workers, right? So maybe that's the case. So, but I'm feeling like the replacement would situation, or this AI competing with the human kind of situation, is much worse in the manual works, right? But I think directly, answering to your question, what would happen to the knowledge workers, right, in the future of work with the AI technologies being, kind of like more and more ubiquitous, right? Lately, I've been thinking about this. I think if you look at the knowledge workers, right, so the AI system, the places that the AI system work the best are the places where you can define a very clear rules, so that the human knowledge may not be like that complicated and that necessary. I have seen that, for example, content moderation, online content moderation, right? That's where, lots of companies have adopted massive AI algorithms and then put it to work together with human content moderators, right? So for those places, right, the AI algorithm normally they automatically scan, and then they set a threshold, and then if the AI confidence is less than 85%, they escalate that decision to a human content moderator, right? So together, this human and AI, hybrid or collaborative system can filter or moderate content, social media content at a much larger scale, at a much higher, faster speed, right? So that's real use case of that, AI is being, collaborative or working together with another worker. But if you look at that, right, so it works well only if you can define a very clear rule, right? You say, oh, if it contains these things, right, is advertisement, or is a something, right, some bad or content, right? So you must have to remove it. But as soon as it stepped into these blurry areas, right? So for example, misinformation or inaccurate information, right? So it has their researchers really have found that it has various kind of like depends on who's reviewing it, right? Maybe they have different opinion, depends on their social background, their cultural background, their political background, right? So they may have different opinion, right? So there's no in those scenarios, this particular like AI hybrid content moderation may also fail, right? We have seen that. So what I'm now observing and studying are mostly working together with data scientists or domain experts like lawyers, healthcare providers, right? Or even teachers, right? Elementary school teachers, right? For all these domains, their knowledge and the complexity of their work are much higher in comparison to the online social media content moderation, right? So I have no I'm pretty sure that with today's AI technology, AI will never replace human, right? Human domain experts in these scenarios, at least in the next 10 years. Let's put that way. Right? When we computer scientists start to predict future, right? If we say something like after 10 years, it's basically forever, right? So let's say in the next 10 years, this AI technology cannot replace human. But you will see people try again and again trying to build systems right to somehow replace human, right? And I'm pretty sure that those will fail, right? So, but what's the right way to design AI, right? I'm also very confident that AI will become more and more utilized, right? Not in a way that they replace human expertise, but they will become these more closely coupled kind of like interaction with these domain experts. So we have been talking about a human in the loop AI, right? Human in the loop AI system, right? I've been thinking about this human in the loop AI kind of like a paradigm to design AI systems. If that's indeed the right way or the best way to design AI system to work, right? So if you think about this human in the loop, the loop here is referring to the AI algorithm, right? So it's the flow, it's the algorithm flow, right? If else condition, right? And then the fundamental assumption is that AI algorithm, the performance or the accuracy is not good enough. So we need human to be a part of the algorithm, right? So we need human to be one of those else if condition, right? And then human step in to help AI algorithm to deliver a good AI performance. And I think that kind of like a design, that human in the loop design, is fundamentally against humans' nature, is fundamentally against humans' incentive, right? You're using human as a part of the algorithm to provide a better performance, to provide a better service. We have seen, those rebellions from Uber drivers, right, or human kind of moderation, should I say? Because the human don't want to be used as a part of a larger AI algorithm, right? We have our own needs, and this is much more severe, and the rebellion is much heavier when you start to work with human doctors and human lawyers, because right, they already have their own daily job, right? They have tons of work to do, and now you are saying like, can you also be part of an AI algorithm so that so that the AI algorithm can do better, right? And then deliver some service for you or for your customer, like patients or their law firm's customer, right? Certainly, the human experts do not want to do that, right? They don't have any incentive to do that. They got paid well. Right? So they got tons of work to do. They're already overloaded, right? Why would they want to be a part of an AI algorithm to do something, right? So that's why, very recently, group of collaborators and colleagues, I think, broadly in our community, we start to think about reverse it. We start to think about this AI in the loop paradigm, right? So when we talk about the AI in the loop paradigm, this loop is particularly referring to the human workflow, right? If you think about a very simple, like, lately I have been, working on data annotation, right? If you look at a very, very simple use case, for example, like, looking at one PDF and decide if there is a table And then if so, you extract a Excel out of that table, right? Even that simple data annotation use case, it actually involves humans decision making at six macro steps, right? So for AI, for today's best OCR kind of table extraction kind of algorithm, it cannot do that, right? And if we talk about this AI in the human workflow, right? We can actually find 3-4 different algorithms, put them, each of them, into that 5 macro steps of the human workflow, so that every step that the human are being supported by the AI, right? Detecting whether there is a table-ish object on this page or not, right? That's one algorithm. That's one task, macro task that the human needs to do, right? Then if the inner line, the border are being accurately detected, right? That's again another human macro task. That's another set of AI algorithm can deal with that, right? So if you start to align the AI algorithm with humans workflow, suddenly, right? You have two really good outcomes. One, human feel like they are not being replaced by AI, because you're not trying to build a end-to-end AI algorithm, right? You're building those smaller components to provide implicit suggestions and support for human. They feel being supported. They feeling less intimidated that the AI can do the end-to-end work. Secondly, right? We all know that today's best algorithm always have some error, have some uncertainty, right? After each step, if you let the algorithm to run end to end, those error and uncertainty will escalate, right? Will accumulate it to a point, the final point that the human cannot really revise or adjust, so that the final performance will be bad, right? The 60% maybe. But if you design the AI system, design the AI solution to be in the human workflow, then in that case, human can actually look at the algorithm, each small AI component's algorithm's outcome, verify or revise that particular small AI component's outcome, so that we avoid the error and uncertainty to accumulate into the next step, right? So in many of the real world use cases, domain experts really want to have this 100% accuracy. Without 100% accuracy, right, or without 100%, at least they feel like being in control. They can attribute to the error, the potential error, to a particular person or to a particular step. They will not want to use the system, because that's how they are holding accountable in their daily life. So we cannot build a system to say like, oh, now I gave you a 99.9 kind of accurate algorithm for your clinical decision making, for your law, like a legal contract review, right? And then you say, oh, but they say, oh, I still need to take that risk, or I still need to be responsible for even that 0.1% algorithm malfunction. So that won't work, right? So that's why we say AI in the loop will work better in these cases. But that's still let's say exploratory concept or paradigm that we are tweaking, we are exploring. It's not finalized yet. It's definitely rapidly developing the concept, but I think it fits better, aligns better with this human-centered AI design, right? Because if you think about human-in-the-loop AI architecture, it's not really human-centered AI design. It's against the human-centered because it's AI-centered design.
Yes, thank you for sharing your insight about this AI in the loop workflow as opposed to the human in the loop workflow. Mm-hmm. And I see we're at the end of the first half an hour. Mm-hmm. So Alberta, if you would end the recording. And I think what Dakuo just said opened up so many interesting topics that we can continue to bring to the second half an hour of informal chat. So I would encourage all of you to feel free to turn on your camera and unmute yourself, and we will have half an hour of informal conversation on this topic.